Judging by the Title, the show where we take a movie we've never seen and tell you what we think it's about based just on the title. Then, halfway through, we go watch the movie and come back to talk about just how wrong we were. Or how right we were. Probably how wrong we were. I'm your host, Eliza Halpern, and today my guest is my boyfriend, Jesse Lieberfeld. We're quarantined together, so he doesn't have a choice. Hi, welcome live from my bedroom in my parents' house where I'm currently quarantined with my boyfriend, Jesse. Jesse, say hi.
Hi, I'm here with Eliza's family. They're taking care of me while I do a job from a bedroom. It's typical 2020 life, you know.
That sounded like a hostage recording.
Yes.
It sounds like you're a prisoner of war. We're like holding you and you send a message back home like, I'm doing okay. They are treating me well. And you're like blinking out like SOS. Oh my god. Okay, well, today we are judging No Country for Old Men by its title. All I know about it is that it's a Coen Brothers movie, so I know it's wild. And there's a guy with long hair. That's the extent of my knowledge. And just to clarify again, neither of us have seen this movie. We have made an effort not to look up or like find any information about what the hell this movie is about.
Yeah.
And we're just gonna theorize about what we think is the plot of No Country for Old Men. And that's
Let's do it.
The podcast. And then after 15 minutes, the podcast will be split in half, and we will go watch the movie and come back and discuss what the actual movie was about. So, yeah, tune in for the second half of the podcast to find out what we thought of the actual movie. Okay, so Jesse, let's start. So, No Country for Old Men. So we have a country
that is not for old men.
That is not for old men. What country is not for old men?
Well, like, there aren't really any countries for old men. I feel like nobody actually wants to. No country actually is like friendly for old guys. But I've vaguely heard that saying be something about like Mexico or the Wild West or something like that. So I don't know. I'm thinking people will get shot randomly.
Oh, that's an actual like phrase? No Country for Old Men?
I think It might be.
No Country for Old Men. Okay, so let's say so we can gather that it's a Western. It's a Western. Yeah. And there is no country there for old men. Maybe it's a double entendre where it's like no country for old men and they're in the West, but it's also like there's no place, like you said, like there's no place for old guys. I think this is a buddy comedy about two old guys looking to like reclaim their youth in the Old West.
Reclaim their youth in the Old West. So is this like, is this going to take place today, or is it going to be like a buddy comedy from like the 1800s?
You're absolutely right. This is a cowboy old Western buddy comedy. Oh my god. And it's a road trip, but it's not a road trip because they didn't have cars. It's a horse trip.
It's a horse trip about two guys trying to reclaim their youth in the West and the 1800s.
Yes. I think, you know what? Like, road trip movies usually start, like, in the boring hometown, and it's like, we're gonna take a trip to Vegas. Like, I bet they were from, like, what's a city that existed in the 1800s?
Chicago.
They're from Chicago, and they have, like, wives. They have a couple, like, ungrateful kids, probably, like, 18 kids, because, you know, people had more kids back in the day, and like one or two of them died of like diphtheria or something, and Yeah, and they both got, like, ringworm. I don't know, people had diseases back in the day, and they decide they're gonna go on a road trip to... Well, Vegas existed.
I think there was, like, a tiny bit of it. But yeah, I mean, that's great for a movie there. My whole family's got diphtheria and they can't eat, they're starving and all that. Hey, you want to take a road trip? Go out to this random bit of unexplored country and rediscover our youth and just leave our families to fend for themselves.
Yeah, it's called escapism. It's called self-care. It's two old guys practicing self-care by completely abandoning their families for... It's gotta be a couple months, because, like, back in the day, it wasn't, because it's not just, like, a regular road trip, like, it's gonna take them a couple months to get to Vegas by horse, and then when they come back, they don't even know if their family will be there. Did mail exist?
Yeah, they had mail, they just delivered it with horses and all that, I think.
Oh, so it took, like, fuck long to get a letter back to the family.
Yeah.
I wonder, yeah. They'd probably write back to their families. That's probably one of the plot points in the movie, is they realize we better write back to our wives.
And they're like, I'm discovering my inner child out here in Vegas, except Vegas isn't Vegas yet. There's just like a watering hole and a few houses, but this is what it's like to be alive.
And prostitutes.
And prostitutes,
and a lot
yes.
of prostitutes.
Yes.
That's Vegas was founded by prostitutes.
Yes. And this is the best I've ever felt while I'm away from you and don't know if I'm ever going to see you again. Wow, they must have had great family relationships.
Yeah. Definitely good family bonds. Yeah, so, like, do you think they'd do fun stops along the way in their road trip?
What's a fun stop in the 1800s? What do people do for fun?
I don't know. Probably something politically incorrect, but
I'm sure.
Okay,
It's like
they
a
gotta get
saloon.
food. A saloon. That's right. There's
Yes.
something. A saloon. That's something that they would show in a movie
Yes.
in, like, whenever No Country for Old Men
Yes.
came out.
Now, next, I want a sequel that says Old Country for No Men.
Old Country for No Men.
Yes.
Old Country for No Men. That's Florida.
Yes. No,
Yeah.
that's true. I was thinking Siberia, but Florida works too.
Yeah, because that Siberia makes more sense because it's an old country for no men. I just thought that, like, nobody should be in Florida.
That's true.
Yeah, but yeah, you're right. They would stop in a saloon, and they get in a fight in a saloon, right? They get in, like, a bar fight in the saloon.
Yeah, well, that's what you did. You went to opposite sides of the bar and you pulled out guns and you shot at each other with these guns that were really hard to aim.
Let's write the script for this saloon scene. Like, let's reenact the conversation that they probably had with each other while they're deciding whether or not to fight the group of actual cowboys that came into the saloon. My name is Bo John, and your name is Trevor. Okay.
Trevor?
I couldn't think of another old-timey name. Okay, so I'd be like, Trevor, I think those cowboys over there are looking at us two old geezers.
You know, I don't know about those cowboys. I think they might want might want this whiskey. You know, they just ran out of whiskey up here with the shortage.
Yeah, you know, the great whiskey shortage of 1863.
It's the middle of the Civil War. I just picked that at random.
It's political. It's political. It's a political.
Okay, there we go.
Movie. It's a historical drama about the Civil War in the West.
Yes.
But anyway, so then I think Bo Jean would go, Trevor, are we men? Or are we just a bunch of lily sons of bitches? We came here to be our youthful selves and get away from our wives. I think it's time we walk up to those young cowboys and show them what the 1790s generation can do.
So they're like 70 something.
Rolling it. Go with it.
All right.
This is improv. You gotta yes and.
Yes. No, I'm just briefly pausing to absurd. But all right, let's see. BoJack, I think I never liked this younger generation. All they care about is is thinking they're better than us. That's why they open up these saloons and get away from their families like we never could up until now. And I'm jealous of them, so I think I'm gonna go over and shoot one of them. What do you say?
Yeah, let's shoot one of them with one of our old-timey guns that it takes 20 minutes to refill. We don't use this new kid technology with these guns that actually shoot when you pull the trigger. We're gonna take our gunpowder and load it in and aim and fire and boom! I think I just shot the bartender.
I think you did just shoot the bartender.
We should get out of here.
Unless, I don't know, is that blood or is that the last whiskey barrel in the bar? I can't tell, but let's not take any chances.
Let me go taste. It's blood, Trevor. It's blood.
All right.
Better get out of here.
Get out of here.
And then they escape. Good job, Jesse. Good job. Good job. And yeah, clap right now if you think Jesse did a good job. And to yourself in your home while you listen to this.
Because I will obviously be able to hear you.
Yeah. But then they escape from the bar, and so they end up on the run because the bartender's saloon owner, whatever's family will probably, and the townsfolk will probably, go after them because they think they're a bunch of outlaws.
Probably, and I mean at this point they kind of are a bunch of outlaws, right? Isn't that like what happens when you shoot somebody and you run away?
I'm pretty sure. I don't know the rules of outlaw, but I'm pretty sure that is a defining feature.
Yeah. That's what I thought.
Jesse's going to be a lawyer. He's good at definitions.
I actually am going to be a lawyer at some point soon. He
actually is going to be a lawyer. Yeah, but now he is ruining his future legal career by doing this podcast with me. Yes. But okay, I think when they get to Las Vegas, like they decide to get prostitutes, but then one of the prostitutes, but then they don't like it and they realize they actually wanted to go back to their wives all along, and that true happiness was actually back in Chicago with their wives and families.
So it ends up being a perfectly good, wholesome movie promoting monogamy.
Yes, Jordan Peterson would love it.
Oh, I'm sure he would. He would probably think it has lots of lessons that the youth today could learn from.
Yeah, so yeah, like you know those scenes in movies where like the guy gets in with the pretty girl and like he's just not into it and he's like, I gotta go back to Janine or whatever. Like I feel like that's a trope, and I feel like but it's a Coen Brothers movie, we know that, so they're gonna flip the trope on its head. Yeah. And so I think he's going to realize that his happiness actually lies with his wife while he is inside of the prostitute. Like he will be fucking the prostitute. And then she'll say something that reminds him of his wife. Like she'll be like, the azaleas are growing in nice. And he'll be like, my wife grows azaleas. Maybe my real happiness was with Shirley back in Chicago all along. And then they get back to Chicago and Shirley's dead of like dysentery.
That would be a good Coen Brothers ending if someone dies of dysentery. I've been wondering why they didn't do that before.
And then the family of the saloon owner they shot comes and kills them.
Yeah, that would make perfect sense. Everybody dies, yes.
Even the saloon owner.
The police come and shoot the saloon owners. And then they go out and shoot some other random people just for the heck of it.
And the message is America.
Yes.
America is no country for old men. Thank you for doing this with me, Jesse.
Of course.
He's really humoring me. If you're listening, you have no idea how much he's humoring me by doing this.
The things we do. Also, I want to see this movie because I know it's a bunch of old people acting ridiculous. That's about the only thing that I can say with any kind of certainty about this.
All right, so now we're gonna go watch the movie and then come back and tell you what we think about No Country for Old Men. Thank you again, Jesse. Goodbye. Okay, so we're back. We've watched No Country for Old Men, and I'm gonna go ahead and read you the IMDb description of the actual movie. So, according to IMDb, No Country for Old Men is about violence and mayhem ensue after a hunter stumbles upon a drug deal gone wrong and more than $2 million in cash near the Rio Grande. So, basically, we nailed it.
Yes, basically, and I'm pretty, I think that's a pretty apt description, because that was just about all that there was in the movie. There was nothing other than what it said in that description.
So, obviously, this movie was not our proposed 1800s buddy comedy. It was about the Southwest in the 70s and drug dealing and violence and mayhem and money. And okay, before I give my opinion of this film, I just want to say the Coen brothers know more about filmmaking than I ever will. Cormac McCarthy and the screenwriters of this movie, the Coen brothers, know more about writing than I ever will, but this movie was boring as fuck.
Yeah, no, like, it was tense, and yet there was not that much that happened at all. Like, I still don't know who any of the characters really are, what motivates them, much of anything about them. It's like, okay, we've got a psychopath serial killer. He starts killing people, and then he escapes. Nobody catches him, and then everyone's sad.
Yeah, so I was worried that because I wasn't getting this movie, like, that meant that I wasn't an intellectual or something, because, like, this movie has been, like, lauded and it's gotten nominated for a bunch of awards. It's won awards. But the fact that... Oh, I got a notification. The fact that Jesse didn't understand this movie also makes me feel better, because Jesse's smart. Jesse is an intellectual.
Not about film, but
but like, if Jesse doesn't get it, if Jesse doesn't, like, I feel like if you don't get it, that means that, like, this movie was actually super boring. Yes. So let's break down some of the characters here. So we got this guy Llewellyn.
Yes. Llewellyn.
Everyone's like southern accent in this movie is like so fake. It's like so fake. Wait, someone's gonna correct me and be like, Josh Brolin actually has a southern accent. Okay, even if Josh Brolin does have a southern accent, like, it's a fake accent, because everyone's southern accent in this movie was like fake, and the dialogue was like so stereotypically like Old West South, like it, like, I don't know. So this Llewellyn guy is a hunter. He lives in like rural, I think it's implied to be like Texas, and he like finds like a bunch of money in this drug deal gone bad, and he like takes it, and it never occurs to him that if you steal money from the drug cartel, maybe somebody's gonna be after you.
Or I think he does maybe get that, but he thinks somehow he'll be able to take them on because he was in Nam. He's a real tough guy.
Yeah, that's true. He was in Nam, and no disrespect to veterans, but this guy was probably like in the back of the platoon in Nam. Like, this character is like not equipped to take on anybody.
No.
Very clearly. And he just, like, what's the point of taking $2 million if, like, there's gonna be like a bunch of scary cartel dudes after you? And speaking of the scary cartel dudes, Javier Bardem, I hope it's Javier Bardem. Javier Bardem's character, Anton Chigurh.
Yes.
He's like just a psychopath. That's it.
Yeah. No, like, we don't get anything about him. Like, usually psychopaths have backstories, at least. Like, usually there's, like, something they want, something that they have other than very high principles. I don't know. I feel like he was one of the less interesting psychopaths I've come across in a movie. It's like,
Yeah, and we lived in LA, so we've come across a lot of interesting psychopaths.
we have, yes.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's fate is making me shoot people.
Yeah, it's just,
and
no
no one
he
can
just
catch
shoots
me.
people. Also, like, again, I get it that part of the point of this movie is that, like, the West in the 70s was a lawless land, but, like, there was this one scene where it takes place in a motel room, and there's just a guy, and Anton, the psychopath character, walks into the wrong hotel room, and in the wrong hotel room, just a random hotel room, there is a guy with a machine gun.
And if I'm remembering this right, he wasn't in the main part of the room. Like, wasn't he in,
He
like,
was in the bathroom,
and he took his machine gun in the bathroom.
In the bathroom. And, like, I remember Jesse and I said to each other at that point, like, I literally paused it and said, like, if this guy is not, like, introduced as, like, a character later on, if this is literally just a random guy in a motel room who happens to have a machine gun in the bathroom, like, this movie is ridiculous.
And he was never introduced, which means this movie is ridiculous.
This movie is ridiculous. And, like, again, like, I feel like like something's wrong with me that I don't like this movie, because I've heard how great it is, and I love all the other Coen Brothers movies, except, like, even when the Coen Brothers movies have awful characters, you usually care about what happens to them a little bit, and I didn't give a I wanted Llewellyn to die. When he died, I was like, that's what you get, fucking moron.
I guess maybe
Spoiler alert.
I guess maybe it's deep because you have sheriffs reminiscing about life. I don't know.
It's deep because you have old boy in the West reminiscing about dreams they had about their father that are only vaguely related to anything to do with the rest of the movie, but not really. And yeah, like, I don't know. Let's talk about my favorite character. What's her name? Carla Jean, Betty Sue, Dairy Queen.
I think Carla Jean. I think that's right.
Like, Llewellyn's wife. Okay, from the beginning I was like, she needs to leave his ass. Like, he's not telling her where the fuck, like, he's going at night. Like, and she's just like, Llewellyn. And I'm like, leave his ass. But then, and I thought she was kind of a moron, but then she grew on me. Because, like, there's this scene, like, the psychopath will, like, Anton Chigurh, Javier Bardem's character, will, like, toss a coin and be like, call it heads or tails. And then the person he wants to kill has to call it, and then, like, if they get it wrong, they die. If they get it right, they live. And she, like, is the first person in the movie who refuses to call the coin. And she's like, I'm not calling that. And I was like, I have respect for you. But then we don't get to find out if she lived or she died. We assume she died, but I don't know. It's... I'm speechless. This movie made me speechless. It's pretty. It's very pretty. Yeah. There's a lot of shots of cows and of deer and
mountains
and highways at night with
and dead people
and lots of really dark lighting that's kind of hard to watch on a computer screen, but I'm sure was really pretty in the theater. And there's lots of shots of, like, Javier Bardem with a deep voice staring and making like very snide facial expressions, like, huh. Like, I know this is an audio podcast, but, like, just imagine my face, like, huh, I'm a psychopath. Like, that's his character. And again, he's a great actor, but, like, I'm surprised that this is a role that he's, like, so lauded for, because, again, the character is just a psychopath.
Yes, it's sort of a "you have filled me with disappointment" face.
Yeah, exactly. It's like he's disappointed in everyone and thinks everyone deserves to die, and, like, that's pretty much his character.
Yeah, and it's like generic psychopath distilled down to its most basic elements is him.
Yeah, and
we don't even find out how he got involved in the drug deal, or what the money was for, or anything.
that's right. We don't even find out like how he got connected to Llewellyn's situation.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy. But like, one thing about this movie is like, I understand that like Cormac McCarthy novels are notoriously hard to adapt. Like, people have talked about like how hard it is to adapt The Road, which is another Cormac McCarthy novel, and like I understand that like it's very subtle. It's like not like overblown like deep dives into character development in people's pasts, but ultimately like having really pretty shots of the Old West and scenes of dudes fighting doesn't make your movie good. Like, I feel like they just took like, I don't know, it was like, it probably works better as a novel because you get to like hear the characters' inner thoughts, but like it was just kind of a bunch of people doing stuff for 2 hours.
Yeah.
With like no real meeting.
Like, I still feel like I don't really know any of them except for maybe the older sheriff character, and even him, like, he never meets Anton. You never like he never really does much of anything. He's just sort of following people around and never catches them.
But he's an old guy making speeches to the camera about his father and about life and about his brother's cats and about the way that like cows are killed, and it confuses like Cara Jean Dairy Queen or whatever her name is, and so therefore it prestigious movie and pretentious movie.
Yes, a prestigious, pretentious movie about Texas.
Yes.
With a brief scene in Mexico.
Yeah. Oh, and the scene in Mexico, the brief scene that is in Mexico is okay. Llewellyn goes to Mexico, completely beat up, like on the street, looking like a guy who just passed out there on the street, like probably drunk, like just laying there, and he wakes up. And there's a mariachi band playing just to him. And that is the one portrayal of Mexico in this movie, is like a mariachi band playing for one white guy who just got there. And then he wakes up and they stop and then he leaves, and that's Mexico. Keep in mind that the expression "no country for old men" refers to Mexico.
Yes.
And that's the one bit of Mexico in the film.
Oh, yes.
Anyway, all love to the Coen brothers, man. Like, they're good filmmakers, but this ain't it.
Yeah, they've given us some great moments, and like, I get that it seems like a movie they would make because you don't really like everybody, but like the thing about some of their other movies that I've seen is it's like you don't like everybody, but you're still interested in them, or you can at least like kind of laugh when bad things happen to them if all else fails. But here, like, even that's not really a thing. Like,
yeah, like
it was all just like,
I apologized to Jesse about 5 times while we were watching this movie for making him watch this for my podcast.
But that's okay. You don't need to feel bad about showing me movies that should be good but aren't. That is not your fault. That is the movie's fault.
Yeah, it's the fault of the Old West. It's the Old West fault, because the Old West was no country for old men. I like our movie better. I like our buddy comedy better.
I agree. That would have been so much more interesting, and I could have seen the Coen brothers making it too. They would have had fun with it.
Yeah. Somebody go make a buddy comedy about 2 like 1800s cowboys on a road trip that's actually a horse trip because they don't have cars.
Yeah, you could at least put some entertaining moments in that. I feel like this was just not entertaining. I was not entertained, and I'm kind of looking at the movie the way Anton looks at someone who has filled him with disappointment. Except I'm not like him, so I'm not going to react the way he does to it. But I think we are equally disappointed by life after watching this movie.
Yeah, this movie will turn you into a psychopath.
That's true.
Oh my god. Wait. Everyone who listens to this is going to be a giant fan of this movie and is going to roast us.
Oh, I'm sure they will. I'm sure they'll say we don't have a high enough IQ or sophisticated enough a sense of cinematic flair to understand all of this. And you may be right. You're probably right in whatever world you live in.
And you know what? We are. We're low IQ, basic ass Americans who just want our movies to have buddy comedy road trips and visits to prostitutes where they have realizations about their wives while with the prostitute. Is that so much to ask? I don't think it is. Thank you so much for being on my podcast, Jesse.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. Bye. Thank you everyone for listening. Bye. Love you. Alright, that was the first ever episode of Judging by the Title. If you liked that, you can subscribe to the Judging by the Title YouTube channel and click the notification bell. Feel free to leave a comment, positive or negative, it's all love here. And yeah, if you liked that, stay tuned for more guests, more movies, and more talking about what me and my guests think a movie is about. For better or for worse. Anyway, I hope everyone is safe and healthy during this time. Thank you so much for listening. I'm Eliza Halpern. This has been the show. Bye-bye.